Start in a few minutes or a few seconds. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of DXP Decoded, where we're talking about all things digital experience. I'm joined today by my friend and colleague, Austin Govella. Today, we're going to be talking about why are organizations migrating right now? Is it the right time for you to be migrating? What's changing about some of these digital experience platforms? Before we get into that, I'm going to give Austin a quick chance to introduce himself as well.
Yeah, hi. My name is Austin Govella. I'm a strategy and design director here at Altudo. And for the last 26 years, I've been helping clients deliver sites that really kind of move the right needles in the right way and make sure that their customers and visitors can do what they need to do when they get to the sites.
And I think, as we talk about this, moving the needle, the right needles in the right way is something that's becoming increasingly more important as marketing teams are expected to do a lot more, which is why today's conversation is kind of is going to set the foundation for a lot of other things we're going to be talking about coming up. But really, for years, digital platform conversations, DXP conversations, were mostly about capabilities of a product and the implementation. And I think it's important that we start reframing some of that thinking. All of these products mostly do the same stuff. I always go by the 80-20 rule. They all do 80% of the stuff the same way, 20% of the stuff they do slightly different. If you look at Optimizely versus Sitecore versus AEM, they all have personalization, but they do it differently. So with that stuff being mostly table stakes here, the entire digitally operating model needs to be rethought, um, especially in the age of AI, composable architecture, and kind of the ever-shifting landscape of how customers are interacting with brands. Um, yeah, so I guess, Austin, are organizations actually struggling with technology at this point, or are they more struggling with how to get the most out of the technology, in your opinion?
Well, I think at a base, it's how they're struggling with how to get the most out of technology with a lot of the clients that I'm working with. That's one of their biggest frustrations, and that's kind of like the tripwire that sends them looking for, kind of migrating to Sitecore AI, for example. But underneath that, they're struggling with technology in the sense that they're in their system and they keep bumping their elbows on things. They can't do the things they want to do as quickly as they want to do them, right? And a part of that is their operating models on the just the business side. They're set up to support this old technology, but again, they can't update the operating models because the technology can't keep up. So they're kind of tripping over themselves, coming and going, which is why you see a lot of people looking to move towards Sitecore AI.
And how much of this as well is, as they're moving from, say, a legacy XP implementation to a Sitecore AI as an example, how much of this is also a shift in kind of priorities or ownership as well? Traditionally, these platforms have always been owned by the IT org. And I mean, it begs the question in 2026, should that be the case?
Man, that's a great question because the marketing teams are on the hook for moving specific metrics, right? And they need the sites to
Yep.
do that. So they have to have some control over what's going on in the site. So whether that means they can launch new campaigns quickly and efficiently, they can make updates to the site, they can lock in personalization. That's really important. So one of the things I've noticed with some of my recent clients is that whereas in the past our primary contacts of working on sites was with the IT organization, now it really is much more with kind of a blend of IT and marketing. Oftentimes it's marketing kind of taking more of a lead, as because we're really kind of stay focused on the outcomes we want the site to accomplish, and we then kind of architect the platform, right, to support those goals rather than putting the platform in and hoping it supports the goals afterwards.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
absolutely. I've always said that as well. Especially in a composable world, you've never been freer to pick technology that works with your business rather than having to shoehorn your business into a technology stack.
yeah, and then that kind of brings up a question for me is part of the move to the new stack is everything being headless, but is that I mean, is that has that become kind of overused as a buzzword? Like, what's up with that?
Listen, I'm a big proponent of composable headless because I think it's the right way to architect a solution. And just like I said, like
Mhm.
it allows you to pick the best of breed. So things being purpose-built software for a specific task that can work in the rest of your ecosystem is a great theory. Where I see it's
Right,
become overused and a buzzword is you see a lot of these platforms out there. They're monolithic by design, and they've realized that we have to be headless to be competitive in the modern MarTech ecosystem.
right,
And all they've really done is lopped off the head of their platform, expose a bunch of APIs, and say, "Hey, we're headless now." That's very, very different from a company that is headless first or a product that is headless first, which is actually why Sitecore AI,
mm,
as a from the ground up product, actually is a true headless DXP now, rather than one of the ladders. I said we're just cutting a piece off and making the head the end user's problem.
right. So with so that's the right way to kind of architect the solutions. Um, why why are so many kind of XP customers kind of hesitant to move to kind of like this new architecture, and the new platforms to support that?
Yeah, I think it's a couple of things. We've kind of hit this perfect storm right now. AI has fundamentally changed everything, obviously.
Mhm.
Um, so you see different solutions out there. You see a lot of different marketing material out there around accelerators and how to move off your old platform onto your new platform. I saw one the other day. Someone was advertising any platform to a certain DXP in 45 minutes.
Right.
And you have that, and then you have true people who are really getting strategic about a rebuild and thinking of it as an opportunity to reshape how they're talking to their customers. And I think there's just such a wealth of information out there that it's actually confusing for people that are looking to make the shift. Um, uh, I think the other part of the hesitation is from a technology standpoint, it still is a big difference for a lot of people. If you think back to the original
Mhm.
XP days, you had a delivery server, you had an authoring server. They were installed in your environment. You had total control over it. It was
Mhm.
more complex infrastructure in some ways, but you had control. Now it's a SaaS product. You lose the ability to customize the back end of Sitecore like you did because of that. And now you've got things like Vercel and Netlify out there actually hosting the front end as an additional layer. So getting around all that changes and managing that change is very difficult for a lot of organizations out there.
Yeah, and you mentioned kind of their assumptions about how it could change the way they communicate with their customers. But that's one thing I've noticed, is that sometimes companies overestimate how much the platform migration will by itself will improve the customer experience, because it requires not just new platforms that kind of give you the new capabilities and make you more effective, but then your operating models and how you kind of go to market internally has to shift and catch up, and
Yeah.
that just takes some time. You need some time with the tool, to some reps with the tool, to kind of get to understand how the tool works. You understand how that changes inside your organization. And that just takes some time, right?
Yeah.
Probably a few months at least.
Yeah, absolutely. And the expectation that if you just, take your current site and migrate it from XP onto Sitecore AI and suddenly you'll have a huge engagement boost or anything else, you may see a small uptick if you had massive performance problems. But other than
Mhm.
that, like the user doesn't care or know or that you're on a new modern headless platform if all you've done is take all your existing XP infrastructure and content architecture and patterns and
Yeah.
move them onto Sitecore AI, right? So it becomes um, to me, a lift and shift is almost a four-letter word in these discussions.
Mhm.
You should be, if you're moving to a new platform, you're likely moving to a new front end framework as well. Take the opportunity, redo your content strategy, make sure your design is still speaking to your brand objectives. All of that stuff needs to be taken into account as well. Which obviously then, it takes it from an IT-led conversation to more of a overall organizational conversation, which can lead to just a lot more gates need to be passed through in order to get these projects off the ground. But it is important.
Yeah, yeah. So this Sitecore AI changes more than just the architecture, right? It's not just about moving to headless and composable. It's yeah, there's a big impact on the business side in terms
Yeah,
of how you
absolutely.
operate.
Yeah, exactly. And I talk a little bit about customer experience and delivering experience and everything like that. What have you seen in the last 18 months? Have customer expectations kind of changed faster than the market can adapt to? Everyone's obviously using different tools to kind of find answers for things, get content. What are you seeing, and how is how are companies doing at adapting to the change?
Right, I definitely customer expectations definitely have shifted. There are the types if you just kind of think about the types of experiences that not only that you enjoy but also you find really effective to use, getting things done, like maybe you like working with your bank website. There is the level kind of the level for what's considered a good experience has definitely moved up. You're assuming kind of modern interactions, you're assuming kind of works well on mobile, you're assuming it's fast and responsive. So all that has shifted up. And if you think back, a decade ago, some of those things were differentiators, right? And now it's just kind of table
Yep.
stakes. The So the customer expectations have shifted. Now, like you said, sometimes when you if you just do a lift and shift, you won't see a market improvement because you haven't kind of updated the experience to kind of see some of those benefits. Um, but I know with the last few clients that I've worked with, one of the things they've done is they've taken kind of like a hybrid approach where the site is so large, you can't redesign thousands of pages, right? But
Yep.
you can redesign all of the core pages and make sure that those are kind of delivering those enhanced customer experiences, and then have a good migration of the other content where it's not just bringing over as is, but maybe there's some kind of transformation on the way into the new system, so it does perform better.
Yeah, yeah. Architecturally, we call that a strangler pattern, right? You focus on what's important first, and then over time you can kind of adopt it. So it allows you to kind of hit that perfect mix of getting to market quickly, but also making sure that you've got all your content comes over and everything that's important comes over as well. Um, and I guess speaking of like architecture, I kind of want to move on to the architecture. We've got a lot to talk about. So one of the biggest misconceptions I've kind of seen in the market so far is that Sitecore AI is just like kind of another Sitecore version.
Hmm.
And it's it's the same as going from 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, all that. It's just you're just doing an upgrade. It's the same tool under the hood. And I think the reality is it should. If you really are taking advantage of it and getting the most out of your money, change how your teams build, govern, and operate digital experiences.
Right.
Um, and obviously, this goes back to, again, designing good experiences. So, question for you is, we talk a lot about design systems and what we do. We love to talk about design system driven development. Why do design systems suddenly become so important in these new environments?
I think you have you have the opportunity for a wider range of touch points, and also within technology for delivering to these touch points on a much kind of more faster cadence, right? So you need systems to support working at that speed. So you can't redesign everything from scratch every time. You want to
Yep.
be just at a base you're reusing stuff. But one thing that we're seeing, especially with the design system driven development, is that you can be trained. The system can be trained on the design systems, um, and that can drive right into the code, right? So
Yep.
the accelerators that I've seen our developers use are really exciting. I'm not sure how they work. It's like a black box magic to me, but we deliver the design system, and the system and our development tools can be trained on the design system to help accelerate the code delivery, which I think is that is pretty magical. Making a change in the Figma and seeing that just pop out in code, 2 days later
Yep.
is that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, what you're talking about is our Figma Decode Accelerator, which is the version one of our Fastlane product. And this has become it's quickly becoming, I think, an industry standard for how development is done. So you take these design systems and you give your MCP server context for not only the original version of the design system. It has context of the repo. It has context that it's building a Sitecore AI website. It has context to your front end annotations and things like Storybook. If you pass all that into the system, it can actually create Next.js and React components for you that kind of match that Figma design. And then, as you said, because it has context of what the system used to be, if we want to make a change, um, we're actually then just reprompting with the new design system, and it'll create and learn where it got got some parts of it wrong. It'll learn from the changes in the design system, and it'll output the changed component as needed. So it's a pretty cool process, and it's really revolutionized the way we do development on these platforms.
Yeah, kind of following on that, why does front end ownership become such a major discussion point in these with the way we develop now?
Yeah, so I mean this is like decoupled front ends are nothing new. They've been around for a while, but the hosting of a Sitecore AI website, previously XM Cloud website, it's hosted on platforms like Vercel and Netlify. Um, uh, a lot of companies have their own standards for hosting front ends or hosting solutions. I was talking with a client last week, and they were all in on AWS. They're an AWS shop,
Right.
which is fine. AWS is great at hosting anything on the web. Uh, but it's like in this instance, it was Sitecore we were talking about. Their backend are mostly deployed on Microsoft Azure services, and they
Mm.
deploy very nicely to Vercel, to Netlify, natively, and we would have to use some of the advanced features of Sitecore. We'd have to actually create a whole nother layer in AWS to make that work. So this
Right.
is where you're not only talking about about migrating your Sitecore version, upgrading your Sitecore version, whatever you're doing, you're actually talking about front end hosting and deployment in a totally different way. So from an organizational change management, again, you've got to have your team upskilled on likely the development stack, how deployments work, how CI/CD works in a Sitecore AI environment, as well as deploying and managing another technology stack in a Vercel like object.
Right. So that one of the things that I'm always curious about, are organizations, are they kind of buying composability before they're really mature enough for it? Or like how does that shake out for the organizations?
I think it really depends. It depends on the organization, but like some of the questions you need to ask yourselves are, do I have the right people with the right skill set to manage the solution going forward? Again, this is not an upgrade of versions. This is you're going to be developing on totally new technologies. Your DevOps team is going to be doing totally different things. Are you
Mhm.
ready for that change? Right? If you're on a really legacy, like I'm going to pick on like a really old legacy system right
Right.
now. You've got .NET developers developing in MVC, and they're likely managing some sort of server in-house or on some sort of managed cloud infrastructure that they're deploying to everything else. Um, every element of that is going to be drastically different in Sitecore AI. The other thing is,
Yeah.
as you talk about composable, if you buy a monolithic platform, that's typically going to be an IT cost, IT manage everything else. If I break that platform down into smaller composable chunks, like let's say I've got my DXP as Sitecore, but I also have a marketing automation platform in something like an Eloqua or a HubSpot or a Braze, and then I've got a CRM in the background as well. Um, uh,
Yeah.
any number of other things, right? If you're talking about e-commerce, there's like 10, 15 other platforms to play. Like all of those probably require different teams to manage them. Some of them will be marketing owned, some of them are technology owned. So
Yeah.
so if you're a CIO, CMO, CDO, whatever acronym you want, you need to be thinking about this stuff as you kind of embark on these journeys as well. And we can help with this stuff as well. We do change management as part of our of how we help our clients get from A to B, but it's definitely something they need to think about.
Yeah, and with AI kind of coming in and changing the conversation, there's still a gap between like the enterprise readiness and the new kind of AI tools and capabilities that are available in a lot of the modern
Ooh,
platforms.
very much so, very much so. And yeah, I think, I mean, I'm of the opinion personally that AI is well overdue for a major slap with the governance hammer.
Mm,
And our clients range from clients we work with range from they're all in on every kind of AI possible to we better not even see an AI note taker in a meeting, right? Like, and I think everyone's still
yeah,
trying to figure out how to responsibly use AI, how to make sure that the AI they're using isn't doing silly things like copyright infringement. If you're asking it to create content, it's very easy for it to go pull something off a different website, pull it into yours, and if you don't have the right governance in place, you're now publishing someone else's content. Same thing with assets. If you're asking it to pull images or something like that, like how do you know that if it pulls an image out of your repo that you're only licensed to use on X site, if you put it pulls it at a Y site, how do you know that you're
yeah.
licensed to use that in that format, right? Like there's a whole bunch of scenarios you can come up with where I think um, AI governance is going to be a very, very big topic around digital experience for and digital in general for the next few years.
Yeah, no, I agree. In the past, a lot of times you kind of had when you deliver site, you deliver kind of like a baseline content governance plan
Yeah,
um, that just really kind of got set like a good kind of foundation for managing the site going forward. But now you kind of have a governance in kind of three places, right? You have it baked into the platform, right,
yeah.
which is part of just how you deliver
Which
deliver
let's
things.
be real. You're talking about workflow within the platform, which
Yeah,
how many clients have we talked to where we just turned workflow off. It wasn't really working for us. We don't even use it.
yeah, and then you lose.
Happens a
Yeah,
lot.
absolutely. Yeah.
Shouldn't, but it happens. It happens a lot of the time. So yeah. Sorry. Go on.
Well, no, I was just gonna say that, and then the AI allows you to have these agents that can run on your content, for example, right?
Yep.
Like generating metadata or doing translations or prepping content for multiple platforms. All of those have to be you have to make sure you're architecting them so that in a way that matches your governance.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
then the thing that I think a lot of people miss, and this is not boring or sexy at all, but every year or so, you should just revisit things and make sure that your agents are still in line with the governance. And a lot of people are so new to it now, they haven't hit that point yet. But you just have to kind of go in and check on things and check your governance policies as well to make sure they're still up to date with how you're working.
Yep.
Um, in order to just make sure that everything stays up to par, right? I mean, that's what you're trying to do.
I mean, yeah, you say a year, like every year. When I think back to where Sitecore AI was, well, Sitecore AI wasn't Sitecore AI a year ago, but where Sitecore was from an AI capabilities a year ago,
Hmm.
Stream was maybe a thing. It was barely a thing. They had a co-pilot within the solution, and now they have the ability to deploy all kinds of agents to do all kinds of things. You can, as you said, you can do
Yeah,
translation, you can create content variants, you can create briefs. It can look at your content and find gaps for you. You can have agents that can do all this kind of stuff. But the important thing to me right now is don't let them do everything. There's
yeah,
strategic work, there's oversight work. They aren't there to replace your team. They're there to supercharge your team, to allow your team to move faster and do more. The example I always use is if let's pretend I am the digital manager of a CPG company that has 70 brands uh, deployed across 60 countries. I get a call from my CEO who says to me, Matt, we need to deploy personalization on all of our web properties.
right.
Cool. If I want to personalize one thing, on the homepage of all those 60 brands. I need to do it across every brand, across every locale. That's going to take me an absolute monstrous amount of time. AI can create all those variants for me in all those different languages. It can do the translation, but I still need someone then to go and verify all that content.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
lion's share of the work is done, but the governance piece right now is still, to me, it's critical that that is done by humans and understood what governance means from an AI perspective.
Yeah. No, no, 100%, man. 100%.
Yeah.
And where is on the tech side, where is AI accelerating delivery today? Like we talked a little bit about
Yeah.
kind of our Figma Decode accelerator. What else is kind of happening on that side?
I want to give a really, really lazy answer and just say everywhere, and then I'll go into a little bit more detail, right? Like,
Right.
the nice thing is with the amount of tools out there, it's really you're limited by the amount of tokens you have and your imagination. I think of a kind of a utopic world where we know well, I'll talk about what Fastlane, the new version of Fastlane does right now. The new version of Fastlane, we talked about Figma Decode, which still exists, can still use that somewhere, but doesn't even require a design system. Obviously, we still advocate for building design systems, but you can give it a URL, a list of URLs. It'll scrape those URLs. It'll create your templates. It'll create your components for you. It'll score itself on how good a
Mm.
job it did, comparing. It'll take screenshots side by side and score itself on how well it did um, at converting the components over.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, it will handle content migration. It will run unit tests against it that it creates against itself, and all of those prompts to create those components are actually checked into source control as well. So when updates need to be made, that can also it's also a lot easier to kind of roll with that AI enabled SDLC. But I imagine a world where each one of those components is also automatically a user story that's created in Jira, and you have
Oh
tasks
yeah.
against each one, right? Like that, like that's where I see the evolution going. Um, and if you really want to go full circle, Cursor now has the ability to assign agents to bug defects. So as
Wow.
long as you log a bug and you can assign it to an agent, and it'll go in and resolve the bug for you. So there's really um, there's no limit of where AI can go from a development perspective. Again, you still do need humans in the loop, making architectural decisions, back-end integrations, um, taking the components over the line. They only do they get about 80% there. You need to find something that'll get us over the line. Um, that stuff all still requires human intervention, but it just
Right.
it just makes everybody a lot more efficient.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. I didn't know you could just point it at essentially like design systems that are in production, right? To have it
Kind of, yeah,
kind
yeah. I
of
guess that's a
decoded.
really good
That's
way of
cool.
thinking about it. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And on the topic of that, like, I've talked about the tech side a little bit. One of the things that we're all being absolutely bombarded with, I don't know if your LinkedIn feed's like anything like mine. It's AI generated post after AI generated post.
Mm.
Um, what do you see the future of content creation? Will AI generated content increase experience quality, or just is it just a volume play?
Wow. I think with the client we're working with right now, um, we haven't hit the content stage yet, but the plan is to have humans write kind of all the key pages,
Yep.
and then have AI do drafts of any other kind of remaining pages, and then have humans go back, like you're talking about before with the governance piece, have humans go through and review everything and make sure that it does match the voice and tone guide, that it is lining up with the messaging hierarchy, like do those pieces. So there's definitely uh, some efficiency gains there with those AI pieces, but um, but if you're really focusing on AI to help you generate content, then it really is a volume play,
Yeah.
and I think there is a risk that that some of the experiences do become more generic, because if you're generating so much volume, you can only give so much direction, right? If you're just generating one piece and you're working with the AI on like say you're putting together an article, you can go back and forth, and then you spend a bunch of time working with it, and you come out with something really good. If you're going to do 10 articles in the same amount of time, you're going to get that same kind of lower level of quality just because you're not putting as much time into it. So I think
Yeah,
that is
absolutely.
it definitely is a volume play. And it definitely there's a risk with more generic content. And in some places that's probably okay. Like we talked about, you talked about the Strangler model for migrations, right? Kind of. So I think there's a similar model for content generation. But for anything that's really going to be moving, helping you kind of meet your business objectives, you really want kind of good, solid human driven and human or human assisted content generation.
I've never thought of it that way actually, and it's really interesting you say that. I was at a Microsoft conference last year, or Innovation Lab, whatever, and they were talking about what content performed the best. If it was like purely human written, purely AI written, human written AI fixed, or AI written human fixed, and it was always human written, then AI kind of flavored
Mm,
on top of it.
right.
Performed the best. But what you're saying is like the really heavily like really important pages have a different strategy than like the tertiary ones that are just volume plays. And I think that's probably a really
Yeah.
important distinction, a really good way for organizations to think about it, right? Like the reality, it's the same thing when we talk about content migration. Not all content is created equal, and it can't be treated the same way. So that's really good. Okay. Okay. So we've talked a lot about like the different a lot of different the pieces of moving to Sitecore AI, what some of the pitfalls are, how to think about content as well. If I'm watching this back, my next questions are going to be like, should I move right now? Is this right for my organization? Who should be doing this? So like I guess my overall question for you is, how much organizational alignment do you think should be required before like a transformation like this
Before transformation
starts?
starts. Um,
Can
man,
this just be a tech thing? Can it just be a marketing thing?
no, because like I said, like the last few clients I've worked with, it's very much kind of a shared project between IT and marketing. And I think that has to do with the way the platform is structured, right? There's like you said, there's a lot of kind of changes that the IT department has to kind of undergo, right, to support the new platform, support kind of
Yeah,
being going to a kind of composable architecture, just like the marketing team has to go through all those changes as well. So I think you do have to have um, some organizational alignment around kind of shared goals and where you're headed. Uh, I don't think that means you have to have from top to bottom on the org chart, everybody understands and agrees with everything that's going on. Like you can parcel out what's important to each group
sure.
in responsible ways to make sure to just to make sure that everybody's aligned. You can make sure the transformation is successful
Yeah,
once you launch, right? Like that's your goal. Is like once it launches, the client can take care of the site and manage it on the back end and the front end the way they need to.
yeah.
But I think that I mean, kind of a follow-on question for that is, do you think some organizations are better off modernizing kind of incrementally, like maybe just taking a piece of that composable architecture and doing like one piece at a time?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's absolutely the case. Some organizations, it'll be a lot easier for them to bite off parts of their ecosystem in smaller pieces, right? Like the DXP maybe just a part of it, but there may be some ERP work in the back end we need to do. We may need to do some CRM work. Like it doesn't have to be a big bang. Or for a lot of
Mm.
organizations, what we're doing now is we do phased launches of like, if we're working with a big CPG brand and they've got 50 sites, we do a pilot program of like 3 or 4 sites to make sure like we understand all the operational changes, the technology changes, the marketing changes need to go into those 3 or 4 sites. So it can be bitten off off in smaller pieces. Digital transformation doesn't have to be this big bang, massive multi-year thing to start, which I think a lot of people
Right.
feel if they're going from like, oh, we're moving to on-premise to this SaaS environment, it's composable now, like, oh my God, it's going to be such a big change. It really, really doesn't have to be. For some of our clients, we're doing small transformation projects inside a quarter, right? Like it doesn't have to be a big thing. Um,
Right.
so yeah, I think it really depends on your organizational goals, your appetite for change, and what you're trying to get accomplished in this fiscal.
So what really kind of drives like with the clients you've been working with, what separates the organizations that get value quickly from those that kind of struggle, regardless of if they're doing a big bang or they're kind of doing kind of more incremental approach. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I think it's buy-in to using the features of the platform like they're meant to be used. And we've got a whole bunch of conversations coming up around personalization and content and strategy. But if nobody's buying these platforms and implementing these platforms to have a static website, right?
Hmm.
So I think it's the organizations that are able to think about all the different ways the user is going to, their different groups of users, segments of users are going to interact on the platform or interact with the platform.
Right.
Organizations that aren't afraid to fail fast as well. We want to constantly, like you mentioned, like go live being like a really important milestone. And to me, it's absolutely important milestone. But with all the AI enabled development and the accelerators, it's almost like it should be it's here now. It's no longer here. It's here on the chart. And right here is when it's a critical decision point. Are we done? Or do we want to keep on going? Do we want to optimize? Do we
Right.
like what are we going to do from an ongoing operation standpoint? What are we going to do from a CRO perspective? What are we going to do from a data and analytics and personalization, A/B testing, all of that stuff. And the clients that are most successful are the ones that are thinking about that before they ever try to have a technology conversation.
Yeah, so it's almost like the real challenge now is your ability to adapt and evolve, and it's less the platform capability because, like you said at the very beginning, the platforms are all kind of 80% the same, right? And they kind of implement
Yeah.
the 20% a little differently. So the platform is going to get you there. It's all about how well your organization is able to evolve to support what you can now do on the new platforms.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And that's something that we help clients with all the time, helping them make sure they're getting value out of the platform and measuring it as well, right? Even if you're
Right.
implementing this kind of stuff, how do we know that the personalization rule we put on this marketing landing page for this segment of people, how are we attributing that to the personalization rule or something else, right? So being able to have that data as your driving force and driving direction direction giver for experience is another thing that's super important.
Yeah, you got to move the right needles in the right way, right?
Absolutely, yeah, I think
That's the whole game.
that's exactly what you said earlier. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess the one question I have for you before we wrap it up is it's really again it's around operate yeah, and we kind of answered this a little bit, but I think what do customers need to do then to get operationally ready rather than have a technology conversation? What do you think is the most important things customers could do as they're going through this to start thinking about this the right way?
I think it comes down to having conversations, and we facilitate a lot of this by having workshops with our clients. So we'll have workshops around your operating models for maybe running personalization, or workshops around kind of content governance.
Yeah,
So just having those conversations with people, however they happen, it's important just to get everybody in the same room and talk about what they're looking for, right? What their goals and objectives are, what they're hoping is going to change, what's actually going to change, and just kind of getting to a shared headspace, and
yeah,
also like a shared language around how you're talking about kind of the new reality. Um,
absolutely.
the and then once you have those conversations, then you can split off into smaller groups and tiger teams and whatnot, and really kind of start kind of documenting your governance and stuff. Um, But I think it really kind of starts with those organizational conversations, and that's why, like, I know when we do our project kickoffs, we have a whole suite of kind of standard workshops we run, and it's really about getting everybody in the same headspace and align,
Yeah.
right? So so everybody agrees on what the future is going to look like.
Yeah, what I love about those conversations is the fact that like we're never having a technology conversation. We're never having a platform conversation. We're having business level conversations first, again, to move the right needles the right direction. It's all about that, right? Like the technology is really just an enabler to the business, which is how you should be thinking about a modern DXP in 2020 26.
Yeah, this is the exciting thing about the new platforms is they all have the capabilities that really kind of support a wide variety of kind of go-to-market strategies. And
Mhm.
hasn't always been the case. You go back, 10, 15 years, and sometimes you choose a platform and it would hamper you in some way, but that's not the case anymore.
Nope, absolutely not.
Yeah. Especially with
And
everything being composable, right?
I
You can
say,
go
as
best
I
of
think I
breed.
was gonna say, and with it being composable, if it doesn't quite fit, there's probably some little other thing out there that'll you can plug into your ecosystem pretty easily that will help.
Yeah.
Um, and on that note, I think we'll call it for today. We'll be back in a few weeks talking about. We haven't decided yet, but we're going to talk about content strategy or personalization, or personalization then content strategy. But kind of one goes into the other. So if you've ever wanted to drive personalization on your website, struggled with content strategy, struggled with personalization, wondered how it's done in 2026, be sure to tune in next time. And until then, it's been fun.
Yeah.
Have a good
That's
one,
great,
guys.
man. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.